support. The team now has Santorin, so they're fully loaded. On the flip side, FlyQuest also has hosted Diodo. The similarities is that both these teams got their junglers this week. FlyQuest has 2 games with Jose. Santorin has only played 1 on Team Liquid, so they're relatively fresh, and we have to wonder who has more existing synergies to play the game right now. Well, Team Liquid is pretty much stacked in the bottom lane and mid lane, so that's another reason why they're coming in here as strong favorites in the Lock-In tournament.
Well, the last thing we heard the desk talking about before they tossed it over to us was that top lane between Licorice and Alphari, and that looks to be the same point of discussion that the teams are having without words here in the first part of the draft. Camille and Renekton banned away by these squads, as now we're switching it up here a little bit. Lilia and Twisted Fate banned out, taking some of the AP threats off the board.
Yeah, the AP threats, the global threats as well, right? Twisted Fate, Camille, all these synergies that have been really dominant in the tournament thus far, whether it's Camille Galio, Twisted Fate with split pushing, and it's just something that you don't want to deal with, especially in Game 1. To me, FlyQuest already is just going to try to take advantage of the red side to maximize the value that they can get from somebody like Palafox. Palafox in Academy was all about counter picking. That way he could generate leads in the laning phase, transitioning to team fights, and then win the game that way. However, this is the first time we see Taliyah being led through in the best of series flowers. She's been permabanned on red side every time.
Yeah, her stats are they're really high up there. The champion is incredibly successful when you're able to fashion a comp around her that works well with her strengths. Point and click. Kobe was talking about it yesterday, how we all sound like broken records when Taliyah or Nidalee is in the game. But the fact remains, if you have a good setup for champions who have a very high damage ceiling, but the difficulty is landing the skill shots to get it there, it just means the difficulty is removed, and you've still got that ceiling that you're able to take full advantage of. So Taliyah picked up here. We'll see how they're able to support that with the rest of the draft. But over on FlyQuest, we've got the Udyr locked in here. We've got the Seraphine there in the bottom lane. This is a very powerful pick. We'd heard from the interview after the last match, Ignar talking about how crazy this champion is during the in-houses in the off-season, that we saw CoreJJ working so hard to get together and have all the professional players in Academy and Proving Grounds and everything competing in those. CoreJJ told me that he thought Seraphine was an S-tier bottom lane pick. He said he didn't think that everyone else realized it quite yet. The champion is incredibly powerful depending on what ally it has next to it in that bottom lane 2v2. We'll see how else they want to compliment it, man. But we might just get ourselves a flash bear slap out of Jose Diodo here today.
Or the running bear, the very fast bear that just runs after you, because he's going with the ghost. We already heard from Kobe what the build is. You start with the Q, you max your Phoenix. It's the chem tank build, just speed. You've got the Seraphine to help you out, but you brought up CoreJJ Flowers, and I've got some cool stories about this man, because he is attracting people to Team Liquid, not even because to play with him, but just to learn. We heard from Ayla, the Academy support, that he came over from Oceania to LCS just so that he could get a chance to learn under CoreJJ despite being in Academy. And this is something that teams have really tried to maximize their interactions with CoreJJ, whether it's playing those in-houses like Diamond's tweeting out that he learned so much from him. This is definitely right now the best player we have in the LCS, and he continues to deliver every single bot lane with it.
Okay, so I want to flash back to those in-houses in the offseason yet again, because this game is playing out exactly like one of those drafts did. For a long time, the bottom lane that was dominating the NA in-houses was Seraphine and Misfortune. Misfortune's Make It Rain sets up Seraphine to get an automatic root that then turns into a stun if she has her E enchanted with her double cast passive. And everybody was struggling with how to deal with this ridiculous poke, all-in wombo combo. As soon as they're level 6, you just die if Seraphine hits anything. And the answer ended up being exactly what Team Liquid is playing now. It was Tactical and CoreJJ that were playing Seraphine and MF, and it was Tactical and CoreJJ who initially took Leona and Samira into it in the in-houses. This lane says, I don't care about your latest music tour. I don't care about your YouTube videos. I don't care about your collab with KDA. You are going to die at level 2 because we are going all in. And that is what these champions excel at doing, is making sure they're getting right on top of that sort of a poke-based lane.
So the champions can do it, right? But you wonder, how come nobody else can get the all-ins just as well as they do? Well, you watch CoreJJ's games, and he's doing something that maybe half of the supports in the league are doing. 3 out of 4 games, he's running Minion Dematerializer in the bottom lane. We heard from Ignar the importance of priority in the bottom lane. He's using the Materializer to either surprise, get a level, and then all in. That's exactly how they actually got a 2v2 kill against, I believe it was TSM, with the minion dematerializer level surprise. You can keep using that to get priority in the bottom lane, rotate over into the other sides of the map. So that is why Team Liquid, or one of the reasons why, they're able to generate so much from the bottom lane seemingly out of nowhere.
All right, well, the Lucian is that last pick that came in before the second half of the bans. I got really deep into talking about the bottom lane 2v2, so didn't mention the Lucian there for a moment. But now that next part of the bans has come through. It's Lulu, Alistar banned away. Remember, the Seraphine can also play the role of the carry in bottom lane, not just the support. So banning away the support champions, that makes it hard to kill her down there. Lulu and Alistar out of the picture by Team Liquid. Akali and Victor, two powerful AP solo laners, removed by FlyQuest. And now we've got the Maokai locked in here for them. This is a flex, but we have been seeing it in the support role lately, so it could be a double AP bottom lane down there. As we'll see how Team Liquid wants to go about their last couple picks of this draft. It is Kennen picked up here for Alfari in the top lane. And what is the sauce for Jensen here at mid? Hovering back and forth on the two different sword bros. Will he lock one of them in? Do we get to see the Yone here in game number 1 of this best of 3? And yes, sir, we do!
Okay, crazy wombo here from Jensen. We'll see what he's about, because rarely do we see him play these kinds of champions, usually falling back to more control mages and seeing a little bit more of controlled aggression out of him. He's always such a cerebral mid laner in the way that he approaches the game. This, you just want him to run into the enemy constantly. Doesn't matter if you run it down a few times. He has a 10 death power spike just like Yasuo here, and it's going to give Palafox that counter pick. I was telling you, Flowers, Palafox loves to counter, and he's going to take, I believe, the Lucian to the mid lane, Irelia into the top, and we got FlyQuest just fighting Team Liquid with pure fire here. I love what this draft says. It just says we're going to stomp the lane and we're going to just run over the game. It's ambitious because you're against Team Liquid, but if they can execute on it, suddenly we've got ourselves a very exciting series.
Very much so indeed. Now that bottom lane for FlyQuest, so powerful if they're ahead. Especially if Maokai's going for that AP type of build that we've seen before with like the Imperial Mandate. It provides a lot of opportunity to put a ton of damage onto your opponents, but you must be respectful of Tactical and Core JJ. The desk was already talking about how these two always want to go in and just get those 2v2 kills in the bottom lane. With champions like Samira and Leona, you know that's what's on their mind. So I want to see FlyQuest and Johnson and Diamond in particular make sure they're very aware of Team Liquid's damage potential at all points in this game.
So I think Diamond will be very aware of what's going on with Core JJ. I was watching a Double If co-stream the other day, and he was saying how Maokai seems to be almost a counter to the Leona, how blinding Leona is very dangerous because of Maokai's ability to just not only do very well in lane against her, but then just team fight like a beast against her. So if that plays out that way, I think the bottom lane of Seraphine and Maokai could just deny all the aggression that we've seen from Team Liquid and transition into a nutty team fighting phase, because those AoE team fighting abilities are just so large. The Maokai ult and Seraphine's cover half a screen.
All right, we're into the game. Let's see how this one plays out here. Phase rush on both junglers. Jose Dioto going with the Ghost instead of the Flash here on the Udyr. Remember, Ghost very, very effective for helping him run down these champions that want to try to kite away from him like the Taliyah does. Licorice with the Conqueror on Irelia. Summoner Spellbook for Kennen up here in the top half of the map. Also want to point out here that we do have a teleport advantage for the side of Team Liquid. Jensen has gone with that one on the Yone, while Palafox has taken Ignite on the Lucian. Very aggressive choice here to try to have that early lane control, command that presence and that priority in that critical midpoint of the map, and make sure that Jensen's always on the back foot, stuck underneath the tower in this 1v1.
Well, we need to see if the support and jungle recognize how important this mid lane is going to be, because if Palafox is going to get an advantage with Ignite, like you just mentioned, he needs to be consistently pressing up. He needs as much help from Jose Dioto to make sure that he can be aggro and not be worried about Santorin ganking his lane. We've seen before from teams like EG being able to just quickly respond to what the needs of the mid lane are according to the wave, and this is one where you definitely need to keep the Lucian ahead, because we all know what happens when he gets those few kills or gets those CSs and never gets punished. You end up just having an assassin, but a fight in the bot lane right away.
Here's what we're talking about. It's level 1. They both start off with their gap closers, and they instantly go in. They get the cleanse out of Johnson. They use Core JJ's Ignite. But now as soon as they hit level 2, they're also going to have their flashes still ready to go. This is Tactical and Core JJ on the aggressive bottom lane. And look at Core JJ, man. He's just walking up there saying, I dare you. I double dog dare you to try to farm. And as soon as they hit level 2, he goes even further up.
They did this before. They started with the E in a surprise move in one of their games in the group stage, and were actually able to get a free first blood. And here they go again, trying to engage, but they're level 2 on the side. Johnson is not, so Diamond will just take some little bit of damage, trade back, and we'll be fine. Now that they're level 2, though, the FlyQuest bottom lane is going to be completely fine here and sustaining back up. So all said and done, there's a lot of sustain between Maokai and Seraphine.
Yep, those two together should be able to keep themselves in good enough shape if they just want to farm up underneath the turret. Of course, it is a large minion advantage for Tactical right now, but soon that wave will collide with Johnson and Diamond down there, and they can even that up a little bit. Looking at the junglers, you can see Santorin clearing up into the top side. Didn't go for the full clear, so now clearing back down towards his red side jungle, as Jose Dioto did clear out the entirety of his own jungle, and now as he moves to pick up this first Scuttle Crab, he'll be able to go back with a 28 farm count. Pretty much the highest you can do is unless you're going to double back and try to refarm for some reason. But nope, Jose Dioto going home, shopping up. You can see Santorin down here in the bottom side of the river, picking up the Scuttle Crab himself. So skipped out on a camp or two of his own, so a little bit behind Jose Dioto here. But Jose with the boots and the Ruby Crystal ready to get back out onto the Rift.
That's going to set him up to go for a Dragon Sneak. We know that the Udyrs has been prioritizing the objective game, and being first on the map means you get that set up on that objective once the Scuttle dies, and you can start stacking those very early on. I've been watching some of his pathing, and he really is very good at just power farming more than anything else. And with a champion like Udyr, whose ability to clear with the RQ style that is being played around right now, I think we're going to have a Udyr that actually just gets to outpace a champion like Taliyah, despite her being an S-tier jungler right now.
Yeah, Taliyah so very strong. But talking about Taliyah, let's look at the setup that Team Liquid has for this champion, because it's all about guaranteeing the hit on the seismic shove that just makes Taliyah so powerful. Alfari, of course, can get a hard stun, but has to stack up the passive with his abilities. Much easier to do if he has the ultimate ready to go. Jensen can use his anime powers on Yone to throw somebody up into the air on that one, but again, both of those are rather easily dodgeable if the opponent has an escape mechanism ready to go. Core JJ is the big one I'm going to be looking at in these team fights, because if Core JJ starts off with a Zenith Blade Shield of Daybreak combo, or just uses the ulti to land a stun onto anybody, the ease of follow-up for Santorin with the seismic shove is just there. And it'll make it very difficult for FlyQuest to be able to save anybody that gets caught out once we get to that point in the game.
And the Team Liquid lineup has so much crowd control, and at the same time, a ton of physical damage coming in from auto attacks with the Yone and the Samira. So you wonder, do you go plated steel caps if you're somebody like the Udyr to try to survive that, or then have to deal with the Kennen and the Leona completely locking you down? So it's a bit miserable, and it just shows you that it's a good draft on the side of Team Liquid, because it forces FlyQuest to really think about what kind of itemization they should go for, because no boot will be a completely right choice.
Yeah, everything is... all your boot choices are gray in this one. There's no boot that just feels like, oh man, this is the greatest item possible for this game. Although I would favor the Merc Treads, especially for somebody like Udyr having to run through a Kennen and a Leona and all of this. CC just feels really impressive in those sort of situations. You can see he has the precision secondary tree for his runes, likely taking the Legend Tenacity on that one to guarantee that he's locked down for a shorter amount of time. Palafox could be in for a rude surprise here. Pops up the culling.
I love
to
this.
Clear out the rest of the wave. He knows something is up, and he doesn't put himself in any danger.
Yes, that's so good, because not only did he suspect, okay, we don't know where the Leona is, we don't have control into the bottom side, but even if he doesn't know where Team Liquid is, he knows where his own team is. He knows that Udyr is not around, his support is not going to make it, and that they haven't seen where Team Liquid is. Here comes the gank, though. Taliyah, check out the shove.
Fighting the bottom side is not a fight. It is a straight-up murder as Santorin is there, and this is what I'm talking about. The power of Leona CC with Taliyah follow-up guarantees first blood for TL, and they're moving right over to that first drink.
There is darkness in this river, and from that darkness, they chop down the tree. Double control ward means that you don't know where they're coming from. You have the saplings to check, but Core JJ Zenith Blade long enough to get there, and with the Taliyah flash, there was just no way that Diamond was going to get out and survive and knock it from Samira. Here they go, looking for more, but do they know that Diamond is already here?
Diamond and Palafox walking through, but they're going after the enemy mid laner instead. Palafox with a flash away, Core JJ with a follow-up, and the damage comes through. Here's Jensen! And Palafox is down and out. Team Liquid with the patient play get rewarded with a second kill.
FlyQuest must have thought they based. They're like, all right, they got Dragon, they got a kill. Surely they have to go home by now and just reset, but they are relentless. They know they can still keep finding advantages against FlyQuest, and they got Summoners in the mid lane. That was the one that they wanted from Palafox. The earlier, Jensen blew his flash for it to get that kill, which really is going to hurt that mid lane. Now he's even in CS, and all that work that Palafox had done earlier, kind of undone. Here we go again against Diamond. Nice and easy. Talia's speed just so quick to make it back into the bottom lane. And I like seeing that Jose is actually nearby in the same area. Just not close enough, but at least you're somewhere together. The teams were thinking along the same lines.
And I love the fact that Team Liquid was patient here. Diamond would have been 100% a free kill. It's Maokai. Even if he has flash, the champion has no other mobility except to get himself into the fight. But they were saying, no, we've got the potential. Even through Lucian flash, we can chase him down and kill him. They get the more high-value kill. Alphari with the flash away. Licorice trying to continue going for this fight, but Alphari dropping the ulti. Keeps them both stunned up, and Alphari heavily outplays FlyQuest, nearly killing Licorice in the 1v2.
Tricky dive there. The Kennen has flash, and you could only pull that off if you actually have the flash on Udyr. I didn't think Alphari was going to fall for that. But now Talia is here, a 2v2,
oh,
and no ult.
Santorin's jumping in there, throwing a couple more rocks. Licorice is completely out of mana. The boy is not in a very good spot here to be surviving this one very long. Jose Diodo goes for the bear slap. Seismic shove, not going to find a lot. Alphari grabbing the first kill of the fight, and now it looks like they're going to grab two. Man, I said that it was Alphari with the outplay in the 1v2, but it felt like FlyQuest just outplayed themselves, and now down in the bottom lane is Johnson in some trouble. Diamond's going to be there on the front line. Tactical finding even more damage. Core JJ missing the ulti. Does it even matter? Yes, it does. Tactical continuing to go in. The man's going to die, but he took two with them. It is a 6-1 game for Team Liquid.
It is Team Liquid just showing that they might just be the strongest team in the LCS with how much power they're showing in these lanes. Everybody is just outplaying the side of FlyQuest. They've got pressure everywhere, and that all into the bottom lane was just because they had level 6. They hit their spells before their opponents and were able to instantly just jump them and try to tower dive them. Jose will try to do something against Jensen, but this is a Udyr that has fallen behind. If you ever tried to play Udyr in Season 10, in Season 11, and you fell behind, you might be surprised why he's being picked again right now, because with all the 200-year champions, it really did not make a lot of sense why he's here now, but the items really allowed him to shine, and when the team comp have so much CC, it makes sense, but if you never get off the ground, if you're always falling behind, you're just running and spare slapping people, and that's about it.
I don't know if he even gets to do that second part, man. If this team continues falling behind at this rate, how will he ever be able to close the distance without immediately just being exploded by the burst power of Talia and Kennen with the CC of the Leona? Crumbs, we are now at a very dire spot for FlyQuest. They are over 3,000 gold behind at 10.5 minutes into the game. What is the plan here to stop this bleeding? I can't even finish asking the question before Team Liquid is bringing even more firepower into the top lane, laying the pain down on Licorice in the last auto attack. The Tick of Ignite gets it done. Alphari turns this into a 7-1 game with the help of Core JJ.
You ask a tricky question, but the answer lies in the bottom lane for FlyQuest, because it's the only places where you actually can engage and pick onto somebody. Right now, the solo lanes and junglers are too far behind, and they're not able to set up any place on their own. They need somebody to do it for them. So the Seraphine and Maokai are the ones. Before that, this play happened, though, and unfortunately, Licorice completely out of mana there. They're not really able to take this fight, and when Jose gets focused, who's the really only threat here, it's just no way that they can win this fight despite the giant minion wave. And then the Dingo level 6 here. Let's see how it happens. Yeah, look at that. It's the freaking dematerializer again. He dematerializes the cannon, and then Tactical hits 6 off it, and then Core JJ gets a few more, and then they just stop them.
I love the fact that that's our Honda performance play, and Tactical's just showing exactly how far he can push himself and his own performance by saying, you know what, I got 150 HP, but I can kill both of them if I flash under the turret, so why not? Tactical and Core JJ running things in that bottom lane. Core JJ 0-0 and 5. Licorice trying to initiate onto Alfari up here. Does land the follow-up stun, but Alfari's exhaust from that Summoner Spellbook proves way too useful here, keeping him alive, keeping Licorice at bay. Licorice does want to finish shoving this out if he can, but Alfari is trying to prevent that. CoreJJ and Santorin walking up into enemy territory, dropping down the control ward here. Santorin flinging a couple of rocks, and he even steals away the enemy blue buff. Santorin is the jungle kingdom in this game.
The disrespect there, too. They could do nothing. How do you even walk up to the Talia when you have Maokai, Udyr that have to actually push themselves in their face and take all the pebbles? You got to take a rain of pebbles before you touch Talia.
All right, that champion is incredibly powerful in the current meta. We talked about it before, and I feel like after this game is over, FlyQuest will not be wanting to play against Talia again if they have anything to say about it. But right now, we got to see how this mid-game plays out. 13 minutes in, CoreJJ throwing out the Zenith Blade, going fishing for Jose Dioto, but will not find him here. Rift Herald charges up in mid. The plates are almost gone. This fourth plate will be quite tanky now. A little bit more damage. We'll be able to find the gold here. Will the minions grab it? Yes, it will. Nice little bit of money in Team Liquid's pockets from that one. Nearly a 5,000 gold lead 13 minutes into the game, Crumbs. What is going on here? Team Liquid is just flexing muscles.
Yeah, they got a really solid draft. They got past the early stage, which would have been the only trouble, and now they're just going to be able to run over FlyQuest. Look at what Jensen can do. This is what you want to see out of your Yone, but you usually see that when you have the 3 million mastery point Yone in solo queue that can dash into your mid lane and do it constantly. If you don't have a jungler or a presence in the bot lane that can punish this, Yone is able to get away with murder, continuing to overextend in these lanes, and nobody can gank them. It's the problem of these kinds of compositions when your jungler falling behind Flowers. I think that it was a good attempt, and frankly, it's the attempt I would have tried if I'm FlyQuest against Team Liquid. If I know that this is a team that is meant to be the world's hope for North America, how many millions of dollars poured in here? I'm going to try to throw a curveball out. I don't want to fight their game.
Yeah, you've got to try to change up the battlefield in some way, shape, or form. And now we got the top laners here in the 1v1. Alfari swiftly wins that one, and there is just nothing really to it other than that. As Palafox trying to stay alive underneath his own tier 1 turret. Jensen trying to run away. Palafox wants that kill. The Ignite is down on Jensen. Palafox will die. Santorin, the one taking the kill credit. Now CoreJJ tanking up here in the river in the brush, flashing over the wall to escape Jose Dioto. Jensen lives. Palafox was trying to get something. I don't blame him for going for that. He wanted to see if maybe there was a miracle chance to get back into the game a little bit off of that one. But Team Liquid had enough backup to take their opponent down. Santorin's caught. A nice long-range charm from the Seraphine, and Johnson gets the shutdown.
A little greedy pathing there, not thinking that the Udyr could path up to the top side for the scuttle, but all said and done, Team Liquid still come up with a giant advantage as Alfari is able to crash that wave, and now CoreJJ has reset and will be looking for more plays on the map. Look at that wave into the bottom lane. It's now getting picked up by Palafox, so the duo lane of FlyQuest has to take over the mid lane. This is what could help them out. When you pair up these crowd control moves with the Udyr, with the Aurelia, might be able to get some kills here against Core, who has no flash.
CoreJJ should be dead here. You would think. Okay, they got him. Licorice getting himself on the board here. Now Alfari doesn't have the ulti ready to go. If Kennen has Slicing Maelstrom, this fight looks very, very different as all three FlyQuest players are dead. But 25% of that cooldown not being available is 25% too much. Team Liquid are not able to punish FlyQuest. And hey man, FlyQuest have now found themselves a couple of kills. They are not going down without a fight here. I like to see this aggressive decision making in the enemy jungle, even when they're this far behind, just finding any angle they can to bring this one back.
I think that's what's been the best thing about the Lock-In tournament is that teams are not going down without a fight. They feel like they have more leeway to experiment and be more aggressive because of the stakes being lowered. So they can make the plays that normally you'd see only in scrims, and we see them now. They got those fights up there. They would have liked to go a little bit more because of what you said, the Kennen ultimate was down, but Palafox was down here with no TP, happy to crash the wave and start getting some more CS as he's got the Gale Force completed and should be able to use that quite effectively to dodge out against Core, Jensen, or even Alfari.
I know it's his intended trade pattern, but I love watching when Yone separates his spirit from his body, jumps in, throws out 3 abilities, misses 2 of them, and then goes right back to where he started, all within the course of 1 second. It's just, oh, goodbye, Licorice. It was a pleasure knowing you, my friend, but Team Liquid is not having any of this here today. And on the other side of the map, Alphari is doing the same thing to Palafox. FlyQuest loses their solo laners yet again. A combined score of 1 and 7 for the 2 solo laners on FlyQuest. It has been a rough first game for them.
There's no wave clear here, Flowers. They're going to be able to even push for this turret and get some more. Are they going to commit for it? Yep, they got the inhibitor turret 17 minutes into this game. Team Liquid is just relentless here, and they still have time to path from top to the bottom side and get the dragon. They're getting everything. It's very close to a perfect game if it wasn't for those 3 kills.
This one is quickly becoming impossible here for FlyQuest. Jensen trying to get away, Diamond going in. Jensen using the ulti as an escape mechanism, and Diamond is now dead, courtesy of the Yone damage. Nice stun coming through from CoreJJ, keeping Jose Diodo in place, or was it? Team Liquid may have baited themselves into a bad fight as FlyQuest is looking for something, but now with the TP coming in, Team Liquid's back on the attack. Johnson tries to continue kiting away, and he finds the damage on the enemy jungler. Santorin is down. Johnson flashes the frog emote, and the Seraphine is now 2 kills further into this game, feeling pretty good about it.
It took so much for them to even take down Santorin. They have so little damage, and you got Irelia pretty much holding a frozen lane in the top side, so it's going to be so long until FlyQuest can even put more members down here into these fights, as Team Liquid has no problem just continuing to dogpile members into whatever team fights, because they're going to win them with this giant lead. The best thing for FlyQuest right now is that it's too early in the game for Baron to be up, because otherwise they'd be going for that one as well, and they would have no choice to try to fight it, because they would lose if they give that up right now.
3 kills even for the Seraphine. I misspoke earlier. I was underestimating how much work Johnson's been doing here in this one. He seems to be the last remaining hope of FlyQuest here in the team fights. Has been doing a good job utilizing the incredibly powerful range of this champion. Remember that every single time Seraphine's ult passes through a champion, whether that champion is an ally or an opponent, it will reset its travel distance. So as long as you have enough buddies in between you and where the fight is going on, you can yeet that thing 1,000 miles away and it will still make contact in the team fight. There's a lot of surprise and playmaking potential with it. Speaking of surprises and making plays, if Palafox walks any closer to that brush, all right, he can spell that this is not a safe state in Summoner's Rift. He has got to back up. And Team Liquid now going for even more here on the Tier 2. Jensen jumping in there with a little bit of damage, right back to where he started. The power of Soul Unbound to just go in and grab a little bit of poke, get right back out. Alphari making sure Palafox can't enter into the fight by blocking off that side path. And Team Liquid will just continue setting up here, trying to take down this Tier 2.
Slow and steady. Look at what they have. They've got control wards where CoreJJ is in the blue buff, so Alphari pushes and then rotates over, and it forces FlyQuest to worry about a dive coming from any of these angles, so they constantly back off. You see that Palafox doesn't know what's going on. They attempt something in the mid lane, but they can just retreat as they know they're getting enough damage into these turrets. One more auto.
Oh! Diamond is about to just die. Tactical goes in to finish it off, and Jensen's got the CC to keep his AD carry alive, but only for a second. The shutdown comes through. It's Johnson grabbing that yet again, and he shuts down a couple. CoreJJ trying to find the damage onto Palafox as Team Liquid retreats. Palafox will die off to the enemy support, but FlyQuest has killed off 3, nearly 4. CoreJJ barely getting himself away on this one. Jose Diodo coming around from the side, looking to lock down Alphari. He has to keep on running. Udyr, you can catch up to these guys, but he's got to pose himself the question, does he even want to? They get over the wall with a blast cone. Nobody else from FlyQuest can follow and keep up, and Jose Diodo does not want to overextend here. Smites the Scuttle Crab to get away, and FlyQuest will find themselves some more kills, Crumbs. It ain't over yet.
Oh, the classic jungler's dilemma. Because I can does not necessarily mean that I should. The Lee syndrome, the Udyr running in, whatever it is, junglers always have to make the decision of whether you're actually going to continue to chase when you are this far behind. And that whole sequence, that was just Team Liquid being a little bit greedy. You could have just waited for one more wave before going for that. They got enough shove, but they saw how low that turret was and thought, well, if we walk up, maybe we can kill the Maokai, we can take the turret down in between it, and then win the fight because we're so far ahead. It sort of played out that way since you got the kills and the turret, but it did give some gold back to FlyQuest, which certainly makes them happy because any sort of trades when you're this far behind is going to be a big benefit to the losing team.
So I will say that it feels like every single kill that FlyQuest has gotten this game, and I know that it's not correct because he only has 6 total kill participation and there's been 7 kills, but Johnson's ulti has enabled practically everything. I feel like without a Seraphine ult being present, there's just no kills happening. Tactical, what are you doing up there, buddy? Completely alone.
Wait.
Nobody else on the Team Liquid squad next to him. I know you're Samira. I know the champion does 1v3 wub montage stuff. That's its identity, but you can't just be up there like this. Team Liquid, I'll call it limit testing for the sake of being polite, but this is some really sloppy play in the last few minutes.
Yes, limit testing indeed, because it kind of looked close, actually, until the exhaust came out. I was like, wait a minute, does he know something about Samira that we don't? Is she actually this strong? Very close. If you had another teammate, you would have done it, but totally right. Definitely inting it down because your team is doing Baron. The mistake isn't you trying to 1v3, it's that you're not doing what your team is doing, and that's kind of the way that you're playing League right now. You want to make sure that every single action is lined up with what the team wants to do, and they were already at Baron, should have backed off.
FlyQuest happy to get yet another freebie here. 14-8 our overall kill score, as FlyQuest is still down pretty severely. Over 6,000 gold. Team Liquid moving up, but it's Jose Diodo waiting there in the brush. The follow-up from the Seraphine for the CC. Alfari using the stasis to keep himself safe and alive, but there is your follow-up to the follow-up, baby, and it's FlyQuest grabbing a shutdown as Team Liquid lose one of their main initiators, one of their big AoE tools here for the team fight. Core JJ now stuck in a spot where he's got to be careful that he doesn't get caught out too. Jose Diodo continuing to lead the charge, going after Tactical, but he gets himself away by dashing to an ally. FlyQuest with control over the bottom side of the river with more men on the map right now. Drake spawns in 10 seconds. That would be a soul if Team Liquid got it. But FlyQuest are making that a very difficult proposition for them. They will leave Licorice and Licorice alone in the Drake pit to take this objective.
And Team Liquid was almost close to thinking about going for a 4v5 on this. They are that strong, but you think about what the risk would be if you actually lose that fight. It would have been a Baron. It could have potentially been the game at that point. So I like the decision to back it up. And I want to go back to your point about the last few minutes of Team Liquid being somewhat sloppy. The gold lead continuing to close. It was, what, 12-3? Almost a perfect game. There's still a lot of standing gold on the side of FlyQuest. The amount of kills they've caught up, the slowing down of the Dragons, they're buying themselves a lot of time in this game, and a few more of those plays out of Team Liquid, and the Maokai-Seraphine combination is going to start to be really pesky in these team fights to set up Palafox and Jose with Licorice. They're already starting this Baron, so I like that they're pressing this, but FlyQuest should be able to fight, except they don't have Seraphine. She base.
Yeah, Seraphine not there means this fight is doomed for FlyQuest. You can't take this. They got Baron, just give it away. Don't take a fight. There you go, secured by Alfari, of all people. And Team Liquid now has Baron on all 5 players. They're in a great spot to continue controlling the entirety of the map, pushing further into FlyQuest territory. And unlucky for FlyQuest, you have to have Seraphine there. There's no fight that you can take in this game without Seraphine available. Her ult is so critical for this team being able to win a fight.
Absolutely. Her CC is really important because everybody else puts their face in it, really. Irelia is rarely to be in it, but her range is not long enough. Same thing with Udira and Maokai. Seraphine is the only one that actually allows you to lock somebody down and not have somebody die or tank way too much damage in return.
So we've got Blade of the Ruined King and a Mana Moon here for Licorice's Irelia. Incredibly squishy build. When he goes in, if he gets focused, he'll die pretty much instantly. But if the opponents are CC'd properly, he will be able to put down plenty of damage. Jose Diodo with a complete tank build here on the Udyr. Everything's just going for movement speed. When all your champion can do is run, move speed is very OP. As someone who only plays Skarner, I know this truth all too well. Look at Palafox in the mid lane here on the Lucian, trying to move towards more items, but man, Palafox still only has one fully completed non-boots item, very far behind the curve here in this game. Jensen also having stopwatch ready to go here on this Yone. Means he can dive into these fights all the way with the ult, seeing if he can just set up plays here for the rest of the TL squad. You can see some assist me pings coming out. Core JJ just marching into the enemy base. They know that top lane tier 3 turret is gone from the play they made earlier with the Rift Herald. They can just push up and start pressuring onto this, not worry about having to fight underneath a turret at all. Weaver's Wall comes in just to give them more opportunity to free fire onto this thing, prevent anybody from FlyQuest from being able to stop it, and there you go. Free inhib for TL. Played that one nice and clean.
with Palafox down into the bottom lane just shoving out, there is no way FlyQuest is thinking about defending, and Team Liquid knows that. It's why they feel so confident just walking up here and being in effective range of Seraphine and Maokai to engage. Lucian is still pushing into the bottom lane. Team Liquid is at a man advantage with Baron, giant gold leads. Lucian is now basing. It's a free double inhibitors on the Baron power play. I think this game is all but done, Flowers. They just need to put the finishing touches, nice little ribbon, sign the letter, and ship it.
Oh, man, you know what happens when you got the 2 inhibs down, Crumbs? The enemy team just sets up shop in the other remaining lane. Maybe leave one guy around to Baron empower the 2 that are already super, and you're stuck in your base just waiting for the inevitable push of the triple inhib and the double super minions. Things just keep getting more and more difficult for the FlyQuest squad here. You can see the Red Bull Baron about to run out now. 15 seconds left on that one, so TL will not get much more value from it. They did get a couple thousand gold lead. They took down those 2 inhibs, and we've got 90 seconds to go until that next Drake is up. And if you're a TL fan, you just want to make sure nobody randomly dies in that next 90 seconds to see this team secure that soul, which should be all they need to take this game home.
Exactly. Nobody dies. No more limit testing right now. The next game will be the one where you can start experimenting a little bit again. This one, you don't need to do that anymore. And you can see how they're showing that in the way that they're approaching the setup for this Dragon. Core JJ far out, setting up control wards for everybody else. Tactical, clearing out the vision, making sure that the wave is slow pushed. You don't want to crash this wave right now because the rest of the team isn't there just yet. So you wait for Centauran to arrive, you wait for Jensen and Alfari to shove the wave, and that way, if anybody gets picked off, then the rest can collapse and immediately take the 3rd inhibitor. That way, FlyQuest is stuck with between one bad decision or a worse one.
You got to make sure all the boys are ready to go here as the Weaver's Wall is fired out, separating the players on FlyQuest. Licorice not in the same spot as the rest of the team. Palafox now joining up with everyone as well, rushing out of the fountain here with the home guards. You can see we've got about 3 minutes on average for both of the other inhibs, so plenty of time left for Team Liquid to utilize this pressure they've earned for themselves in mid and top lane. Drake about to spawn in 10 seconds. If Team Liquid are displeased with the current state of this siege, they can just walk it back, go straight for the Drake, dare FlyQuest to come and try to fight them. If you're FlyQuest, you don't want to do that. You have to play around your own base and your defensive structures. You've got Licorice diving in after Alfari, finding some good damage onto him, but it's not a 1v1 game, Crumbs. It's not a 1v1 game.
Never has been.
5v5.
Never has been a 1v1, especially in the top lane. You think top laners are 1v1, it's always jungle difference in the top lane. And now you don't even need the Mountain Soul. You just stick to the lanes, just crash these waves, and you can end this game. I like this decision. So many teams would be so much softer in their approach to ending this, but there is no need for more time in this one. You can definitely crash this wave as top super minion is already hitting the Nexus turrets.
Nexus turret's in trouble, and the remaining inhibitor is already gone. Alfari keeping himself safe here with the power of the stasis. Diamond's going to die first. Alfari's out of the picture here. Jose Dioto getting that one done, going on a killing spree, but with Johnson dead, surely FlyQuest chances in this first game are done. Palafox kiting away. Jose Dioto trying to buy as much time as he can, running around in circles, just trying to buy as much aggro from Team Liquid to save these Nexus turrets. The first one's nearly already dead. Jensen jumping in there, using the Q3 for the knock-up on Licorice. He's respawned, but now he's immediately sent back into the spawn platform. That second Nexus turret, man, look at that thing. It's barely hanging on. Palafox and Jose Dioto doing everything they can to defend this one. Jose Dioto going to be chain CC'd. The man's running away, but he will not escape. The secondary damage on Soul Unbound finishes him off, and it is Palafox and Licorice versus the world.
That turret is still living by a hangnail there, and FlyQuest only survives because Tactical dies. There is no longer any ranged champion to actually hit that turret. If it was any champion that's not melee in the mid lane, I think Jensen would have been able to end this game. But I love that FlyQuest actually takes the decisive move here. They want to be the ones to aggress onto Team Liquid. If they go down, they go down on their own terms. Eliminate Alfari, but then the pick onto Tactical, I think, was the really big one there, because he's being very aggressive, going in, flashing in, but then the root of Seraphine gets comboed with Palafox quite swiftly, and that's what saves them. They get the Mountain Soul, though, in the replay that we didn't see. They get the Baron, and now they're just putting the finishing touches, because you don't need anything more. If it was very close last time around, it won't be this one.
And they're going to the Baron immediately. They started it up before even clearing out the blue ward. That shows you how confident that they are, that their opponents can do absolutely nothing to stop this. Look at the vision, Crumbs, in the top half of the jungle here on the FlyQuest side of the map. It's lit up like a Team Liquid Christmas tree. Just ornaments hanging all over, and every single one of them brushes you can keep your eye on. Team Liquid knows if anyone from FlyQuest will come anywhere near that Baron pit. And now FlyQuest just continues to try to defend their inhibitors. One has respawned there in the top lane. Mid lane inhibitor respawning in under 10 seconds. You can see that in the bottom left of your screen. They will try, but they have one shot left. And Team Liquid is 10,000 gold in the lead. Core JJ starting off the fight. Diamond's going to be your target. Diamond already gone. Core JJ tanking up here in the front line. Licorice into the back, looking to find some sort of damage, but the man explodes instantly. Jose Dioto shows up to grab the kill on Core JJ, but considering it's a trade, that means that FlyQuest is out of there. Tactical, chasing Palafox all the way back into the fountain. Team Liquid, whether or not they want to pad their stats, it don't even matter. There's your ace. Santorin's going to die to the laser once he becomes vulnerable again. And Team Liquid, they had a couple silly mistakes there in the mid-game, man, but they destroyed FlyQuest this game.
Bleeding blue all the way. Team Liquid was just relentless. The solo lanes popping off the bottom lane. Everybody just had a good game. It looks like FlyQuest just needs to go back to the drawing board and see what it was that Team Liquid's laners were doing, because the 1v1s were always getting out pressured. Then when Core JJ got off, that's when it got scary. Because the 1v1s, all right, we're holding it on. Core JJ is not on the map yet, but then once that happened, once the kills on the bottom lane started going through and the pressure from Team Liquid's bottom lane spilled over everywhere, the game blew wide open.
Yeah, the Taliyah and Leona combo just guaranteeing the power to always blow somebody up. The solo laner's fallen so far behind. Licorice's build had a lot of damage potential, but you just saw what happened to him every time he went into the fight. Merc treads or not, he was just CC'd as soon as he went in and just destroyed in the middle of the 5v5 action there. Team Liquid definitely looking pretty good, but at the same time, I'm going to call out a lot of the errors that we saw around the mid-game. They were clearly feeling confident. They wanted to see how far they could push that, just how far ahead they were. Ended up paying the price a couple of times, but ultimately, the bottom line is it didn't change anything. Team Liquid still won this game with a 5-digit gold difference between them and their opponents, and they look like they're going to turn this into a quick 2-0 unless FlyQuest makes some pretty dramatic changes in game number 2. We're heading to a break right now, but after that break, we will hear from the State Farm Analyst Desk for more on how Game 1 played out.